Thank you so much, Dr. Nelva Lee, for being here. I am so excited to be here with you. I know, like, we have a lot of exciting things to touch on, your book and everything that you've done, but like, there's some background that we need to get into. And like, you currently do consulting. I want to know how that came about.
Sure. So let me tell you a little bit about my origin story, if you will. So my background is in healthcare administration. So I have my bachelor's, master's, and doctorate, all in healthcare administration. And I was a director of patient advocacy, customer service, medical services, integrated health system, which is the largest public hospital here in the state of Georgia. So the #1 trauma center. So if you get in an accident, that's where you want to go.
It's
And
a good
so
hospital.
it's a very good hospital, very well known. So one of the things that I was entrusted with when I first started as the director of patient advocacy was to make sure that all of our language specialists, our interpreters, translators throughout the entire system, lots of different locations, that they were all trained and qualified, that they had the proper training to be interpreters and that they had the qualifications that we qualify their languages specifically. Not just, not if someone says that they're bilingual, that's not enough. You have to actually test them to make sure that they're fluent in both English and their target language. So we were one of the first. We were the premier health system that was able to accomplish that in the entire nation. And I was very,
How long ago was this? Like, what year are we talking about?
this was back in 2003, 2002-ish.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
quite a while back, yes. And the beauty of it was that because we had gone through the process, and it was a very difficult task because we had different languages, different interpreters, different locations, different shifts. So training everybody and also qualifying them was a very difficult. Mind that we accomplished it. We were the premier hospital to do so. And the process of going through that, I realized that there were some efficiencies that there could be brought to the market. And so I launched MiTio, the Medical Interpreting and Translating Institute Online, back in 2004 as a result of this. And so we started off by training and qualifying people who were bilingual to be medical interpreters. Eventually, we went into the court system as well because court interpreters are very much needed as well. And then we also then decided to launch our own agency so that we could hire our trainees, our alumni to work
So
for
this
us.
is
So we
while you're still working in the hospital, or like you already left by that point?
still had left by then. So when I launched the business, I left the hospital and just focused on the business. And so, so one of the things that I found was the improvements that we made in our program were made along the way because of suggestions and requests by my own students and alumni. So the fact that we offer live practice sessions and we offer, like I said, the services for them to be able to graduate and also work from our own agency.
It's so good. So like they literally come through the whole process and like you're helping
Exactly.
them every step of the way. I also love how like you like listen to like your audience and like your clients and like what they wanted. Yeah.
Yes, that's #1. If you want to be in business, you have to listen to your customers for sure. And so one of the things that I found was that the skill sets, one of the skills necessary to be a really good interpreter is being able to be a culture broker. And what that means is if you have people from different cultures, oftentimes it's not just the language barrier that they're dealing with, it's a culture barrier. So if I say something to you and even I'm using the proper words, you're not understanding it because I'm bringing it from a different context, from a different worldview. And so the interpreters, that's one of the skills that they have developed. As good interpreters, you have to be a good culture broker. So we found that that skill set isn't just useful in a hospital room setting, right? Between a patient and a provider. That skill set is also useful between employees and employers, or between employees themselves. And so we oftentimes we decided last year to take our interpreters and bring them in as consultants because they have the skill set as culture brokers as consultants for diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Oh my
So
gosh,
we,
one second. This is so cool. But before we go deeper in
yeah,
this, I'm like curious, like what how do you teach someone culture? Like I always thought, I'm obviously it's like a skill. Like I'm a very big believer, everything's a skill and everything could be learned. But like to me, like the fastest way or like the typical way, I should say, to learn culture is to really go and like spend time in that culture and then you'll get it. So how
Correct.
do you like just teach it to people?
Okay, so let me start off with our interpreters. They oftentimes come from those cultures. So it's very important that they have that personal knowledge of that if they're going to be good consultants for us, right? So oftentimes they'll come if we're dealing with someone that has, for example, a large number of Hispanics within their organization, we'll bring in a Hispanic consultant. Okay, vice versa, if we're bringing someone with an large Asian employee base, we'll bring in an Asian consultant. So that's important. You're perfectly right that to really know a culture, you have to immerse yourself in it. Now, that being said, you can definitely teach the general ideas and perspectives from different cultures. Okay, and that's what we call culture mapping. And that's one of the things that we teach in our consulting program. So our consulting program has different facets. We have pre and post assessment, which is really important. If you don't know, you can't measure and decide where you're going without first knowing where you're at. Okay. So we first do a pre-assessment, and that's a very comprehensive pre-assessment organization-wide. Okay. Then the second thing we do is we meet with the leadership and we develop SMART goals. And you've heard of SMART goals before, right? They're measurable, they're achievable. And so it's really important to set those goals. And we then delve into the training itself. And that's culture mapping training, and where we teach everybody within the organization, not just the top head honchos, but everybody all the way on down to really identify the areas where what the culture that they're really interacting with are from, and to understand the perspectives. Because every area of the globe has a different perspective that we bring about from that particular culture. And so that's what we do, is we teach culture mapping. But we also teach, which really sets our organization apart, is we teach self-responsibility and self-determination, if you will, self-control of your own process. So if you're dealing with a very challenging work environment because everyone's from a different culture and you're having a difficult time communicating, really setting goals as a team, our consulting service is actually going to teach your employees specifically that information, how to really take control and responsibility. And we do that through this book that we call Be the Superhero of Your Story, which I wrote, yours truly. And then the other beautiful thing that we do is we do focus groups throughout the entire organization. We do focus groups of whether it's teams, individual teams, or individual silos of employees that are maybe all of the same race or same gender, from the same area. And we really dig deep into why they think that they're having the challenges that they're having. We then take that information back up the food chain. And when we do the post assessment, after 3 to 4 months, when we do the post assessment, we look to see, A, did we make any improvements? And B, if we did not make any improvements, did any of those focus groups answers, right? Did any of that come through as a reason why? So oftentimes the pre-assessment doesn't show us the full picture. The focus groups might. And then furthermore, we have also individual essays from the employees that they have to do as they go through the program. And that might also shift. Our consulting services is very hands-on, very comprehensive, where we really just flesh out all the possible reasons why there might be challenges within your organization. And our consultants, as I mentioned, because they have that skill set already as interpreters, where culture broking is so important, they're able to bring that to organizations and really help employers, employees, or teams to really work together much more cohesively.
Yeah. You're the one that trains the consultants, or do you have other people that train the consultants? And I'm assuming the consultants are the ones that like go into the actual business. Is that correct?
Correct. That's correct. You have the process.
So who
I
trains the
actually want to
consultants?
change.
You do, or
I do. Yes. Mhm.
and how long is that process for like someone to become a consultant?
So again, we only hire consultants who are our alumni from our interpreting institute.
Okay.
Yes. So our consultants are very uniquely qualified for this particular task of both culture broking and really helping businesses understand that particular culture because they most of the time come from that culture, but more importantly, they've been trained as culture brokers. They have been trained as interpreters. We only hire certified medical interpreters. So they have been tested on a national level and they're qualified. They're fully qualified and credentialed. Mhm.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, I love like your perspective on like taking responsibility. I think like a lot of people like to like fall into like the blaming and like and just like giving up type of thing. Like I'm just gonna take it as it is. And like you're like really like, no, like you be the hero and go take responsibility. So how did you come into like how did that become part of you and like your mission?
Well, I would say I would have to go way back to my childhood. And I had a very difficult childhood by all accounts. I speak about it very briefly in the book because the book is not really an autobiography. But I wanted to really set the stage in the book for people to realize that just because you had a tough go of it, whether it's in your childhood or someone may have been in an accident or someone may have just been going through a divorce, whatever is your definition of a tough time, that does not have to cripple you. That does not have to define you, and it shouldn't. In fact, it could actually propel you to your success if you decide for it to do so. It's really up to you. I love the phrase, the quote rather by Dale Carnegie, life is 10% what happens to you, 90% how you react to it. It really is all up to us, our perceptions, our perspective of the events or the happening in your life. And it comes down to wanting that particular thing to, to train you, to build up your muscles. So if you look at every single thing that happens to you, in fact, Tony Robbins says, life doesn't happen to you. Life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you.
Yes.
Okay. So if you really look at that from that perspective, that this is happening for me, what is the lesson? What's the beauty of it? What is like exactly that this particular event is actually doing for me? We often, unfortunately, we are entering into an era of victimization where it's really like the woke thing to do is to be a victim. And it's very limiting, it's very debilitating to
I
be a
agree.
victim.
I agree so much on that. You should like see what comes up on like the comments of my socials of like people disagreeing. This is so good, so refreshing to speak to someone who agrees with me.
I would say that a lot of us who have overcome challenges in life realize the blessing. Oftentimes it takes us a while to see where the blessing was, right? But
Yeah.
we'll look back on it maybe 5, 10 years down the road and go, wow, that really created these different character traits in me. Or because of that situation, this is the good thing that happened. That's usually Monday morning quarterbacking, right? We look back and we're able to see it. But how about if we're able to see the good while we're in it? We might not see the whole picture, but how about we just decide, you know what, this is for my good, and I'm going to go forward through this challenge. I'm in the middle of the challenge, but I'm going to go through this challenge with the mindset that this is going to actually be for my good. And you'll be amazed at not only what it does to your stress level. Your stress level is going to come way down, right? But it's also going to allow you to think clear, make the actual challenge for your good, because we're the creators of our life,
Right?
really.
We
And
get to
so
decide how we're gonna write the story.
yeah, we get to decide exactly. We should be the main character of our life, not the things happening to us, right? Everyone's always like, oh, because I'm not this because of that. I'm not this because of that. Or if such and such had happened, no. If you want something to happen, you can make it happen. You can just,
Agreed.
we are creative people for a reason. And so if you stop blaming others, take responsibility, stop blaming events, because things happen outside of our control. COVID, for instance, completely out of our control, right? But some people use COVID to get closer to their families. Some people use COVID to develop a new hobby, a new skill. Others use COVID to blame for lots of things, failure in their businesses, failure in their marriage, you name it. The
What's
same
more interesting,
event.
sorry to interrupt you for a sec, but what's interesting is the same things, like some people blamed, like COVID blamed their marriage, and there are people that use COVID to build their marriage. And some people say COVID destroyed their business, and some people use COVID to build their business.
Exactly. So many people discovered new ways of doing their business during COVID that has actually strengthened their business post-COVID, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And so we just can't use the blame game. If you have two people going through the same exact event or situation, and one comes out stronger and the other one weaker, was it the event or was it the person's perspective of the event? And so and I'm not minimizing struggles at all, which is why I give you a little bit of my time. So that you realize I'm coming from a place where I went through struggle, and that had I followed the normal statistics, what statistics say that should have happened, I would never be the person that I am today, ever. But you overcome, you become stronger. And now I look back and I'm like, if it wasn't for that childhood, I would never be the person that I am today. I'm proud of the person that I am. I'm a strong, capable woman that can handle any challenge because of it.
I love it so much. Yeah. I'm curious, like, let's like give like just one example of like before you wrote this book, like when you were building your business, like you still had this, you had already, you've been developing this character trait, like you said, from when you were a young child. So during building your consultant business and your organization, what were like one or two challenges that you've had and you had to write the story in a way that it worked so it actually helped build your business?
Got it. So I would say that the main challenge was marketing, right? Really getting the word out. Because you can have a perfect product, really, you can have a perfect product, very well built, ready to go, and nobody knows about it. And what do you have? It's crickets.
Yes.
Right? So
Right. If you build it, they will not come. Exactly.
no, because you have to say, hey, I'm here, and find the proper avenues and channels for that to happen. And so that's definitely been a challenge for sure. But it's really allowed me to do more research and to really familiarize myself with all the different types of marketing channels out there, whether it's Google ads, Facebook groups, you name it, we have attacked it. And so I would say that that's definitely been a challenge for me, for sure.
Yeah, so like how did you use that skill of like taking responsibility to like even when it looked like everything wasn't working out and the marketing was just like not happening
Mhm.
yet? Like how are you able to take responsibility so that way it did work?
So I would say that if I was that person that was a victim, I would I would throw my hands up. Oh, nobody is is coming to my consulting business, or no one is taking advantage of. Say, for example, we have a free trial. No one really sees the value. My point is, if you want to play the blame game, you can't. Instead, I decided to just go, what is it that I'm not doing? Take
I
full
like that. What
responsibility.
is it that I'm not doing? That's a good question.
Yes, what is it that I could do better? What
Right.
are the avenues that I just don't know about? So I'm a very big believer in meditation. And I don't know if you've heard of, like really putting it out there into the universe, if you will, what it is your vision. And so that's what I do when I meditate is I have a vision for what my business is going to look like, or what the solution that I want, particular solution, or end results rather. And when I meditate, I really just focus on looking for that solution. And oftentimes I'll get a creative insight, for that a solution for that problem that I'm having or the challenges that I'm going through. And so it's really about just keeping yourself open to the possibilities and to there's tons of research out there, right? There's
Yeah.
tons.
Oh yeah.
Our brains, there's tons of options,
Yeah.
and solutions out there. Our brains oftentimes just aren't aware of all.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's
That's why like that question's so good. Like, what haven't they tried yet? Is like
correct.
has to like right like whatever words you use, then like that's what your brain is going to start taking action on. So by saying that, your brain is going to look for things that you haven't done yet, and that might be able to help you. I love that so
Exactly.
much. Okay, so where can people find you and get your book and all the good stuff?
Sure, sure. So our services can be found at MiTio.org. That's MiTio.org. And you'll find our interpreting services, our consulting services there. Now, we also have a foundation arm of our company, MiTioFoundation.org, and that's where you can find the book and the free companion course for the book.
Awesome. Thank you
Yes.
so much, Dr. Nelva. I am so thankful that you came here and I got to talk to you today. I really appreciate your insights.
And you've been an amazing host. Thank you for having me.
Awesome.